Hello, Canon EOS M and Magic Lantern fans. Welcome back to Photo Adventures. That means one thing. Today I'm heading out on a brand new journey, and I'm taking you along for the ride through the lens of my trusty EOS M. So get comfy. It's gonna be a good one. Let's roll. Before we jump into this little adventure, I want to give you a bit of backstory. About 6 months ago, I got my hands on two vintage lenses, the Helios 44-2 and the Industar 52. I actually already made a full video about the Helios. It's a beautiful lens with tons of character, and honestly, I still love using it. But the Industar, I've never really filmed anything with it, and there's a reason for that. Something about it always made me doubt whether it was even worth trying. But today, I finally decided to put it to the test. So, is it a forgotten gem or just another relic from the past? Let's find out. So, as you've probably figured out, I haven't really shot with this lens yet. Maybe just a couple of test photos here and there. That's why I wouldn't even call this a proper review. It's more like my very first impression of the Industar 52. No expectations, no conclusions, just me, the lens, and a bit of curiosity. This lens is a Soviet-era prime lens that dates back to the mid-20th century, originally produced around the 1950s and 60s. It was designed for M42 mount cameras and was a very common kit lens for Zenit SLRs in the USSR. This lens is a 50mm f3.5 based on the classic Tessar optical formula, often nicknamed the Eagle Eye in Soviet advertising due to its sharpness. It has 4 elements in 3 groups: a minimum focusing distance of about 65 centimeters, and an aperture range from f3.5 to f16, controlled with a smooth manual ring and a preset diaphragm system. One of the most interesting things about the Industar 52 is its tiny pancake-like size. It's incredibly compact and lightweight, almost like a lens cap with glass. This makes it super easy to carry around or adapt to mirrorless systems without adding bulk. Despite its low price and humble design, it can deliver impressively sharp results, especially in the center. It also has a very unique vintage rendering, a bit low in contrast, with subtle colors and soft bokeh, giving your shots a truly old-school character. And let's not forget, it's fully manual. No electronics, no autofocus, just a pure mechanical experience. A fun challenge for photographers and filmmakers who want to slow down and connect more with the process. That was a bit of background info I managed to dig up online about this lens. But now, let's talk about the real question. Why haven't I used the Industar 52 until now? Well, to be honest, there are 2 main reasons. First, when I first got it, the lens just didn't seem all that exciting to me, especially compared to the Helios 44-2. I mean, with a maximum aperture of f3.5, it's not exactly a fast lens, and 50mm isn't always the most versatile focal length for my shooting style. And the second reason, the filter thread is tiny for my ND filter, around 42mm, and I only have step-up rings for 49mm filters, so it just sat on the shelf. One day, I was looking for something on my shelf, and once again, my eyes landed on the Industar 52. I paused and thought, okay, what could I actually do with this lens to finally test it out? As you may have noticed from my recent videos, the weather's been super sunny lately, and even stopping the aperture down to f16 wouldn't be enough to avoid overexposure. That's when it hit me. What if I tried it for macro photography? Bright light is perfect for shooting macro, and the overexposure can be balanced out by using extension tubes. It sounded like the perfect match. So let's break down what we need to make this setup work. As I mentioned earlier, the Industar 52 uses an M42 mount, so the first thing you'll need is an M42 to EF adapter. That's the one I personally use, and from there I just add my usual EF to EF-M adapter. This kind of adapter lets me use M42 mount lenses, not just with a regular EF-M adapter, but more importantly for me, it also works perfectly with a speed booster. That means I can get a wider field of view and better light transmission, which is a big deal when shooting with vintage glass. For macro photography, or in our case macro video, we'll also need extension tubes, or as they're more commonly called, macro rings. These simple accessories move your lens further away from the camera sensor, letting you focus much closer than usual. They don't contain any glass, they just increase the distance, allowing even a regular lens to capture impressive close-up shots. Whether it's photos or video, the principle is the same. So I decided to head out for the shoot around 6 p.m., mainly to avoid getting roasted by the scorching sun, and honestly that was the right call. Always keep that in mind when you're planning outdoor shots. Once I set up the tripod, I thought I'd start simple, just grab a few test shots of some small grass where ants were crawling around. But when I got home and looked at the footage on the big screen, I was genuinely surprised. Turns out it wasn't just ants, there were also aphids, those tiny green insects, and the ants were actually tending to them. That's right, ants and aphids have this fascinating mutual relationship. The ants protect the aphids from predators, and in return, they milk them for a sweet substance called honeydew. I didn't expect to capture a mini wildlife documentary with my first test shots. That was amazing. In that moment, I honestly forgot all about the lens. I was just blown away by what I saw. These were my very first emotions, and they weren't even about the lens itself. They were about the insects. It felt like I had accidentally stumbled into a tiny world full of stories happening right under our noses. Sometimes the gear fades into the background, and it's the subject that truly steals the show. But let's get back to the lens and how it actually performs. And you know what? I genuinely liked it. The colors are soft, the sharpness is pretty good, and overall, it gives a really pleasant image, especially for macro work. It definitely surprised me in a good way. At the same time, it wouldn't be fair to judge this lens based only on macro footage, so the very next day I took it out again, this time with a standard adapter and the speed booster to see what else it could do. But for now, let's just enjoy some macro shots in amazing 4.5K 14-bit RAW. Don't go anywhere. Things are about to get even more interesting. So the next day I went out filming again. The weather wasn't as sunny this time, and honestly that worked in my favor. It gave me a chance to shoot wide open at 3.5 and take a closer look at the bokeh this lens can produce. Now f3.5 isn't exactly known for dreamy background blur, but with a 50mm focal length you can still get some nice separation, especially if you position your subject and background thoughtfully. Even with a slower aperture, background blur is totally achievable. The image has a gentle, almost vintage softness to it, with natural colors and just enough contrast to keep things interesting. The bokeh, well, it's nothing crazy, more on the subtle side, but in the right conditions it has a certain charm. Still, I have to be honest, compared to lenses like the Helios 44-2 or some of my faster glass, the Industar doesn't quite spark the same excitement for me. It's not about sharpness or technical quality, it's more about character. The Helios swirls, the fast lenses glow. The Industar, it just does its job quietly and decently. So who might enjoy using the Industar 52? Honestly, I think this lens is a great fit for people who love experimenting with vintage gear, especially those who enjoy adapting old glass to modern mirrorless cameras. It's also a nice option for beginners who want to explore manual focus photography without spending a lot of money. And for video creators like me, it can add a subtle, old-school character that's hard to fake with modern lenses. But where I really started to enjoy this lens was in macro shooting. Using it with macro extension tubes opened up a whole new world. Suddenly, that slower f3.5 aperture wasn't a problem. In fact, it helped me get more depth of field, and the compact size made it easy to handle when shooting tiny subjects close up. So, once again, I just want to say, your gear is only a tool. What really matters is how you use it. Creativity, curiosity, and passion will always matter more than specs. Oh, and before I forget, huge thanks to everyone who took part in my last community post. And of course, congratulations to the winner, who was the first to guess the mystery lens. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell so you don't miss future adventures. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, take care and see you in the next one.